Hello, welcome to the video. This is a paint and chat, and I'm here with the other half of Tabletop Sparrow.
Hello. I sounded like some kind of a...
Hello.
I sound weird, but hello.
So, this is a Blood Bowl miniature from my Blood Bowl team. Skaven team is an old school rat ogre, and then I sculpted a second head and a bit of warped stone coming out of its back and a helmet that he is standing on.
By the way, just to clarify about why this is a two-person talk-along thing, it's because we thought it would be kind of interesting to have somebody who was a painter or paints a lot, and somebody who doesn't paint a lot and doesn't particularly like to paint because they are very impatient and frustrated by their lack of painting skills, which would improve if they painted more, but it's like a vicious cycle. Yeah. That was a whole life story.
I think you're quite good at painting.
But you're a painter. You do painting and sculpting / converting. I forgot that word.
Conversions.
I was trying to...
Yeah, converting, same thing, yeah. I'm not very good at painting, but I can paint to, tabletop standard. I feel like my painting's improving. I gave up trying to worry about improving it, but it's like anything, the more you do it, the better you get, so...
And I just appreciate, hugely, not having to play with grey minis or have to do it myself, so I kind of do other things. Oh, it's a spray can, don't worry.
Yeah, we were just... That's to remind us that we are getting to the priming stage, so normally I'd get you to spray it.
Yeah, I might move the location of that spray can and put it right here. Because I'm a dab hand at the priming spray can.
Yeah.
But that's not what we're doing right now.
So I'm just using Vallejo primer from a paint pot.
Vallejo. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. I haven't done it in a while.
And so while that was drying, I thought I'd paint.
This is the team I play as, the humans. This is my my number one, my star player. Well, he's not really, but I like him. He's a cool miniature, and you've kindly painted him for me, and he fits in very well with on cue the other guys, the linemen.
I've based these minis with some static grass and other stuff since this point, and at this point the ogre's mostly finished.
Just a few. You just wanted to go over the bells and whistles and things, but you can see the finished miniatures all based and things on our Instagram by the same name.
Yeah, that's right. That's a lineman. I quite like that one. I kind of messed him up. I think I got glue on his leg, and then I had to then I just dry brushed it brown to cover that up.
You dry brushed a bit of dry glue on his leg brown. Isn't that going to look a bit like a poo stain?
Well, it's a muddy.
Oh, or a mud stain.
He's fallen on his bum, and
why did my mind just go
he's
poo
gotten up
rather than mud?
Because you're imagining that guy punches you in the stomach.
I have a literal dirty mind.
I mean, I imagine people poo themselves while playing Blood Bowl.
But you would never know because of all the mud around.
Yeah, it's like when you're a little kid and you pee in the pool sometimes.
Everyone's done it. No judging. Everyone has done it. I won't bet my life on it, but
I can say that I've never taken a shit in the sea though.
Oh, and you know what? I could say I've never taken a shit in the pool or the sea.
No one
to put that in there. People have because.
Why did you even mention swimming pool thus?
Because I was thinking, I've seen it.
Okay, we're getting off topic here.
I've seen poo in the pool.
Yes. I haven't.
So you've labelled him number one.
Yeah. Which is looking like I know I've said this before, but I thought it was sort of funny. I think I've seen memes about it, but it's like a birthday badge, and kids get the big, oversized birthday badge.
I can just imagine him being super happy for his first birthday.
Yeah.
And then I remember we went into talking about how could he be one, because is he a creation? Do ogres tell us about ogres, please.
No,
we know nothing about ogres.
That's rat ogres, but these ogres are different than rat ogres. They're their own. Sorry, I think I've misunderstood you at some point.
Are we just untangling our wires? Because I was saying, could this be his first birthday? Because could he?
I possibly, maybe they grow really fast like orcs, I don't know. I've never been a fan of ogres in Warhammer Fantasy, in the way of the, now they have a big army and stuff, but they used to kind of be more like Ogrins in 40k, like part of the human faction, so you'd have them in your empire army. Anyway,
I'm looking at the base coated rat ogre right here, and I'm just thinking that's another downside kind of to using wet primer. It takes ages to dry.
You mean like out a pot as opposed to like
a spray can,
yeah.
which dries almost instantly.
Yeah, I suppose. I think I put it on quite thick, and that's why I didn't really wait for it to dry. Not just being lazy, but I didn't want to add too many layers of paint, so I just kind of blended in the base coat for the flesh.
But the way it came together, I feel like you could almost say it was some kind of wet blending. Is that the thing, isn't it? When you don't wait for the paint to dry and they blend together.
I'm not very good at that, but I'll do it on like a cape or something, where it's a big space where you've just got one block colour, because then you can kind of have more space to work.
You have to have a lot of
together.
Space to do that, don't you?
Yeah.
Otherwise it will just go into the cracks and stuff.
But that's why people do airbrushing, because it's so much easier to blend, rather than wet blending. Because you're right, it's all about the consistency. But another way to do it is just get the two colours and then put a bit of like that flow control stuff, like Lamy medium.
While it's still wet.
Yeah, or you could even put a bit of paint thinner if you diluted it enough with water, just to kind of mix. Maybe you have. I think the idea is probably to wait for the paint to very thin paint, and then kind of wait for it to almost start to dry a bit, and then you can move it around.
But we're talking about like level 10 painting here. I'm only a level. I'm not even a level 1 painter.
Like honestly, with this, I'll do some washing, some highlighting, tiny bit of edge highlighting. Where you get the side of your brush and you just.
Yeah, I think we showcase that later, but right now you're doing the flesh colour on the and you were showing how it was a similar. You told me it was a similar flesh routine that you use for the humans on the scale.
Yeah, so I've got the recipe for pale flesh using the that Citadel paint app, which is quite helpful if you're not
if you don't know it all off your head.
Yeah, it just. You don't have to mix colours. You know that this colour will work with this colour. So I'm keeping the same recipe, but then just adding brown to each, the same ratio of brown to each. Maybe a bit less brown to like the second layer. But honestly, on this miniature, it was more about the shading. I don't even think other than on the face, I don't think I did a third highlight on the skin.
Okay.
So I just do the base coat, and then when that's dried and after I've done all the spot colours and shading and things in the recesses, then I did the next colour up. So the base being Rakoff flesh with a bit of Army Painter brown put in there, and then I used the second thing in the pale flesh recipe, which is the layer paint of flayed one flesh, and I added brown to that again, but I added a bit less, you know.
Yeah.
Just to make it more extreme. Like, you can cut out a third stage with highlighting things if you use enough shade, and then also there's enough difference between the base and the first layer, you know, I think.
You're just looking at what there is left to, what skin there's left to paint.
Yeah.
Oh no, you're taking a scalpel to it. You're tricking it.
I'm not sure what I was doing. Maybe I'd seen some flash that I hadn't removed.
You're attacking the flash like it's a living enemy. You hate flash. You're very triggered by flash. I think it was a false alarm though, because you put the scalpel away, like back into your holster.
Yeah. Well, I'm not very good at looking after my brushes, so maybe like a hair had come off the brush.
Oh, okay. So the first, oh wow, I was just about to talk. I was about to talk about the eyes.
I came
back to my guy.
That's this guy finished. So you've seen, I painted the silver on your guy and the buckles and spikes on his shoes. I've gone back to the yellow, done a bit more shading and highlighting, and I've done the red. So the red doesn't have as much shading and highlighting as the yellow, but I wanted the red to be quite a dark, flat yellow.
Looking good anyway.
And then obviously since this video was shot, I've based him as well, but I've shown you that.
You've pretty much based everything. Oh look, back to the eyes. What I was trying to say was you've got several step eye routine, you know, to getting the eyes looking, because you've always been quite into making the eyes look good.
Yeah, I think painting eyes, I understand it can be hard when if you have poor vision or poor lighting or something, but if you can, you know, do anything to correct your vision or your lighting, it's not that hard to do. But with the Skaven eyes are really easy, because you don't even really have to dot them. It's just a case of
highlights.
What I normally do, I paint the eye black, which is an easy and good tip with any kind of eye, so that you know you're defining the outline of the eye. And then, well, here I've gone and painted it white, but that's actually, I correct this later and repaint them. Because I was just trying to brighten.
Oh, you were correcting it. I thought that was just part of the layers when I was watching it over the video.
Yeah, well, that was my intention, but then it really looked bad, so I redid them.
Yeah.
But the way I redid them was the way I'd done them.
Is this you redoing them?
No. This is all wrong. I just painted them red with Mephiston red, and then I did a bit of Wild Rider red, more to like the front of the eye, so to speak. Dot like in the middle of the eye, just as a highlight.
So if you hadn't had messed up, you would have gone from the black to the red rather than black, white, red.
Yeah, I would have gone black,
doesn't
red.
The white underneath make it like pop more?
Yeah, that was what I was thinking, but it actually it made the red look too. It's the contrast between the dark red and the white highlight. With, you know, dark red with, I mean, a slightly brighter red to the fore of the eye, and then the white dot in the middle that makes the Skaven eye look like the Skaven eye.
Okay.
Whereas before with this, it was too bright a red, and it just looked like a bright
so you wouldn't
red
have been
with
able
a
to.
white
Yeah,
pupil,
I completely get you.
Look kind of crappy.
You see, painting is so complicated. I'm just joking.
It's not, I mean, that's
really.
just trial and error, you know. But honestly, I I was just trying to improvise, but really I should have stuck to what I know works, because I'd done the black out the eye, then the 2 reds and a white dot on the gutter runners and linemen and everything else, and they came out really good, I think.
What I love most about your process is definitely the fact that everything is black, and then, you know, to do the teeth, it's just like, you know, the gaps. It's easier to make individual teeth rather than, you know, like the way I would do it, which would be to colour all the teeth in white and then, you know, put a wash over it and then almost just adding in an extra step for nothing.
Yeah, because you want to define the teeth as separate from one another, and sometimes using wash to separate parts looks weird, or it just doesn't work.
It can look like coffee stained teeth.
Yeah.
It can look a bit like like they've had too many.
Which kind of works, but I think separating parts, you know, identifiable bits on a miniature, it just makes it look cleaner from a distance, you know.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier, like separating the parts, like inking in like manga and all different kinds of graphic drawings and things. But we're very bad at talking about what's going on as it's going on.
Well,
so you're doing the.
Well, I did just want to say something about what you were just talking about, and say that I especially relied on that when painting the face for the head I sculpted, because I didn't do a very good job sculpting the teeth. So, you know, having just painting in the teeth as opposed to trying to paint the area where the teeth are if it's not well defined. Anyway, sorry, like you were saying, so moving on to...
That's an interesting point though, and I think we've stopped painting the warpy bits on his back for now. You were mentioning that when you've got your own conversions, green stuff conversions and things, you don't have to 100% rely on being the best sculptor in the world, being the best at sculpting. You can use your painting skills, even if they're also not the best in the world, to bring it all together and make it look cohesive.
Yeah, it's just about highlighting the parts that do look good and just trying to mask the other parts.
Yes, bring forward the good stuff and sink back to the shadows, the bad stuff.
Yeah, and also I'm, you know, painting warpstone all over this guy like crazy, so that's detracts the eye a bit. It sounds like it wouldn't work, but it does, you know.
So what interesting paint, that very glowy paint.
So that's Vallejo game color livery green, and it's so thin. I think it might be, you know, really more designed for airbrushing or something, but I just add a bit of Citadel Goblin Green. I don't know if that paint exists anymore.
If it's still called Goblin Green.
Probably called something different. You know, and then I'll add a bit of white scar as well if I really want it bright.
I think it's now called Moot Green, if that's the same. Remember, it's going to look brighter in the picture.
I think that's
What's a moot?
Moot. Well, like a moot point?
No, but in terms of Citadel always name their paints.
The new name is probably something to do with Age of Sigmar, but I have nothing against Age of Sigmar, but it's, you know, it's not really our thing, is it?
No, I mean, I was into fantasy, not in a huge way, but I just loved all the different factions, and I heard that they all went into one of those black and white wormholes and disappeared, and now it's just golden things. And
yeah, and even though, I mean, from what I hear, Age of Sigmar is a good game, and the new lore, I've read short stories and things, and I think they're starting to really flesh out the world and the universe and the background, and it's quite interesting, you know. But the way in which they killed Warhammer Fantasy Battles, you know, old world, was just so.
It was very abrupt. They could
They
have.
rushed it.
Well, it's kind of like the end of the which age, like Jurassic Age or something. You know, the big meteor.
It's just an extinction event of BS.
So interesting. Moot Green refers to the grand country of the Mootland, often referred to simply as the Moot. Blah blah blah.
Imperial
Empire
province.
of Man.
So is that? So if that sounds like old world.
The Moot is predominantly inhabited by a race of short humanoids called halflings. So is this not to do with The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings?
No, because it's Warhammer Wiki. So it's basically so it is not about Age of Sigmar. It is about the old world, and I'm just ignorant. I mean, I never claimed to be an expert on the lore.
I love maps. I'm looking at a map of Mootland, fantasy maps and all kinds of maps. But by the way, this information is from warhammerfantasy.fandom.com to give them their credit. Interesting, because I like to know, what the colours are.
Anyway, I think you can see here. Started.
You're using camera. You're using that ready shade to wash.
Something like Carabao Crimson or something. Yeah, so I didn't really ever know much about halflings in the old world.
Are they taken from Lord of the Rings? Halfling or
yeah. Everything's inspired by Lord of the Rings, but I mean, I think they were more associated with Bretonians at one point, or I don't know. Like, I don't think anyone had a halfling army. I think you could back in, the early 90s, but I didn't even learn about, or I got a Wood Elves army in 1998, I think.
That's retro.
Yeah, I had the old metal forest dragon. I rebought it or found it in a box years ago. Do you remember when
you were given it in an old box?
We got back into I was talking to you about it on Necromunda, I think, and you were like, "Oh, that sounds interesting." And then I got an old box of my stuff. Had all my old Wood Elf stuff in it.
That thing even separated. Each part of that dragon weighed like 5 kilograms. It was sizable.
I'm really regretting. I did a really cool conversion with a Forgewell Warp Fire Dragon, I think it's called, and then I made a little dude out of Wood Elf Wild Rider.
And he was riding on top.
Yeah, so I had that was like the start of my Wood Elf army, but then.
You never completed a Wood Elf army, did you?
No,
I'm
working on my third at the moment.
Isn't that your next Blood Bowl team that you want?
Yeah, I think so. You got a Dark Elf.
I have a Dark Elf, but I also want an Orc Blood Bowl team because I've seen a picture of them and I think they look amazing as an American football adaptation fantasy game. Like, they really look like... They all look like the same position to me. They all look like...
Who are you talking about?
Orcs.
Orcs. Oh yeah, we have the orcs, don't we? On Spoo.
Really?
Yeah, because they came with the base game.
Humans.
We got humans and orcs. I bought the Skaven.
I thought humans and Skavens came with the base.
No, because I built and painted the humans for you, but I didn't want to play as orcs. I wanted to play as Skaven, so I bought Skaven.
We should have done Orcs versus Skaven then, because I wanted to play as Orcs.
Jeez.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry.
This is
miscommunication.
Miscommunication.
Is that what I sound like?
No. That's,
okay.
You know in anime, where they have words in English, and
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I like to think that I can speak a bit more Japanese than I can, because I can say those words quite spot on to how they would be said in the dialect.
English words in a Japanese accent? That's not
it's
speaking
more complicated
Japanese
than that.
Okay.
Anyway, moving on.
Okay. The warp stone looks like a mess. Sorry to speak over you.
No.
Did you want to move on?
No, please move on.
Alright. The warp stone looks like a mess right now, but it will look good.
Skin highlighting.
Yeah.
What paint would you be using to do that? Do you remember?
That's the bright. No, I think I was just sort of dry brushing the base one on rack off flesh, but because it's so much brighter than the brown I put on, honestly, I just did a really. Basically, I painted the tail with the brown rack off flesh mix, and then I tried to wash it with Agrax Earthshade, but then that looked really shoddy, greasy with the wash.
Okay.
Yeah, and too dingy. So what I did is I just sort of dry brushed it with just pure rack off flesh. So it was just a slight step up, because the wash hadn't pulled right anyway, because it's the tail isn't like a small area.
I like how cautiously you use washing, because I'd always heard of it as a way of painting faster and it's still looking good, but I think that overly using it, I mean, this is from limited experience, like basically like dipping miniatures in a pot, you come out with a lot of issues that need to then be covered up, shininess.
Yeah, I've ruined plenty of miniatures with over using wash.
But now you use it very deliberately. You almost use it just like a paint and put it,
Yeah, well, I used that Baletan green on this you see those runes carved into the shoulder?
Yeah.
That's been sculpted in by the sculptor, whoever sculpted this in 95 or whenever it was sculpted. So then, I painted those areas white and then just put the dark green wash just in the recesses. So that's
the one that's on his bicep.
Yeah, but he's got them all over, and then I was even using the wash to kind of paint in those between the ribs,
Oh yeah.
as well, like
pretty much showing that the warp is, overtaking him from the inside. It's kind of fueling him. I'm being very I sound like I'm discussing some kind of English literature creation or something.
You work for the Inquisition.
I don't feel like they're going to live for very long. It can't be healthy to have all this
No, but I mean,
energy.
Most the average Skaven lifespan is like very short, but and even if they do live, it's like max 20 years, but the only way they live longer than that is because if they make it, get rich, they can use all these like warp snuff and things,
I'd love to see a really decrepit, really old, kept alive by science and magic and stuff, Skaven, like the Emperor, like the human Emperor, or the Emperor of all of 40k or whatever.
Yeah.
I'd love to see a Skaven version.
I think Ikit Claw was...
Do you know what the Emperor's name was?
His name was the Emperor of Mankind. Like he didn't reveal himself or whatever. So he was just like playing the background like some Illuminati shit.
And by the time he could reveal himself, he could no longer speak because he was so old and decrepit, right?
No, the Emperor was like immortal, but he got so messed up that he's basically a corpse.
And never
Chaos
once during all these years he's been alive could he be like, my name is Bob.
He never had a name because he's like a god.
Yeah, so I guess Emperor is the best name for him. So you're currently doing the loincloth of the beast.
Yeah, I don't want
Rat.
to talk about this.
No, I didn't include the mess up of...
Oh, you took that out?
Yeah, because it's
You
just like,
edited
why
out
highlight
That was funny.
Well, it's funny to mention it. So what happened was, you drew a 4.
So you don't have the footage of you shoving the camera in my face when I got the number in?
No, this isn't even framed. This is paint and
We did.
paint and chat.
You're feeling merciful today.
Well, I was trying to cut it down because, as you can see, we are not short-winded, and we have many tangents on tangents, and this has been going on long enough already. And I wasn't sure if we would have anything interesting enough to say over it, so I was just like, you know what? Let's just talk about the good.
Yeah.
Voila.
Well, it's not finished. It's got a long way to go, but
I wouldn't say a long way. I'd say a few more minutes in terms of recording time, but a long way, like, in terms of painting.
I had some trouble defining. Okay, I'll talk about what's actually going on the screen.
We either run over and we just don't talk about what's on the screen. What's going on?
Doesn't matter. We're doing our best. That's all
We're
we can
trying.
do. So I'm just using Screaming Skull to paint his claws. And then I was kind of using that to just overbrush on also like some fur and some yellow and things. You know, just if you've got paint on your brush, you know, just
use it.
It doesn't have to be so perfect. It's like I really only used about 5 different, maybe 8 pots of paint total, but only really like 4 different colours, you know? Like, you don't want you don't need too many crazy colours. And if it is a bit drab, you know, it's like brown and flesh, like 70% just skin and fur. Like, you know, these super bright spot colour might be good, you know, like I've got the warpstone, but then also the bit of colour he does have is, you know, yellow.
So here are practicing your razor thin highlighting on the Skaven Blood Bowl ball.
Don't say that. Look, I'm going to mess up in a second. I know, because I did mess up.
But how close up do you ever see a Blood Bowl ball? Not very close.
Yeah, but if you can get a really nice contrast between the dark green and the, you know, super white edge highlights, then from a distance you can just, you know, it sticks out. Like,
they've done a really good job sculpting this. I mean, like all the little, all the edges.
I think it's really cool that they, you know, it's like, oh yeah, it's expensive to get a team. You could just kit bash your own or use your old one from, you know, back in the day. But
Butterfingers.
But you know, it is quality miniatures, and they do chuck in things like lots of blood bowls and blood balls
tokens and things.
Yeah, all that crap.
This, just to remind myself, because I do forget. I mean, I forget that you kind of sculpted a second head. Once it's all painted, it all looks like original stuff, but I mean, like it came like that out of the box. But what I was going to ask is, this isn't actually a Blood Bowl Rat Ogre. You're just using it for that.
I don't know, you know.
Did you get it from
eBay? I just typed in Rat Ogre to eBay.
Okay.
I do think it might be an old school Blood Bowl Rat Ogre, because I follow this Instagram page called which has the old what's it called? Used to like have the mail order. Like when I was a kid, I would get the catalogue from the local GW, and then you phone a number on your landline. You speak to a guy and you say, I want miniature, and you say the number, and because there's in the mail order catalogue, there's a little photo of the.
Yeah. So what did you order?
I didn't order. I'm talking about back in the day. I ordered stuff for Necromunda and Ashwaste Nomads. It was the main thing I remember ordering. But what I'm saying is, that doesn't exist and hasn't for a long time. But there's a Instagram page which is like a retro wargaming thing. They just show you know, the guys taking photos of all these old mail order catalogues. And I think I remember seeing this miniature.
Oh right, I understand.
And it said Blood Bowl Rat Ogre underneath.
So here we are at the end.
So the eyes did come out okay.
You can see
And
these pics on the Instagram.
the warped stone looks pretty sharp, even though I was worried it was going to look rubbish.
Hope you enjoyed the video.
Thank you.